From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
We're there again. We are there again.
Morning.
We're just like a bad
Good
smell.
morning.
We just don't disappear. We're here.
Thursday
Never.
already. Thursday already. Halfway through
Correct.
November.
I can't believe
Christmas
it.
on the
Can't believe
horizon. Amazing.
Nice.
And still
Always
no
halfway
football.
through this silly little international break that we're having, right?
Yeah.
Almost halfway through it, cracking through it.
We're cracking through it, and to be honest, the last thing I wanted to read about yesterday was another Newcastle United injury, but we've got one by the looks of it.
Oh no! Missed that one.
Fabian Scher's now pulled out of the Switzerland team.
Yes.
Didn't play last night. Not sure whether he's going to be available for the next two. He hasn't, to be honest, travelled back to Newcastle, contrary to some of the reports. But that could be another one to add to the list of the walking wounded. I mean, we could at this stage be playing our academy team in the next home game if these things continue. But it's absolutely bonkers. But I'm not going to try and concentrate on that too much this morning because we've got so many things that we could potentially discuss, and we probably won't. Here's a new one. Football lawmakers are to consider trials of sin bins for dissent in professional competitions and adopting rugby's rule where only the captain can approach the referee. I thought that was a thing anyway, as part of a drive to tackle misbehaviour. So sin bins rearing their head again, which has been mooted before but hasn't come off. We've gone virtually a full week without speaking about Manchester United, so I thought
you were going to say VAR there. I thought you were going to say VAR.
Oh, no, you've mentioned it at 3 minutes past 7. Now, I was trying to get to 13 minutes past, so you've done that, Radio Dad. We're trying to do it later and later so that we eventually got it out the programme, so you brought it up. Anyway, I wasn't going to mention those three dreaded letters. I was going to mention Sancho. Juventus are apparently ready to offer him an escape route in the January transfer window. Is that a good move for him or not? Do you think it'll happen? David Moyes, now this is a shock, is expected to leave his position as West Ham manager in the summer. Where will he go? Is that the right move? Does it surprise people out there? That's another talking point again we'll probably ignore. And this one is a subject really close to my heart, and it's Euro 2024 organisers are worried that computer bots have swept up tickets for next year's major tournament after claiming that millions of ballot applicants were black market touts. Now, anyone who's a regular listener to this show over the last 13 weeks will have realised I'm not a happy chappy about digital ticketing and about ticketing in particular at Newcastle. Now, I have suggested that many Premier League clubs have been a victim of ticket touts online, and it looks as if eventually people are now coming round to my way of thinking. Something I have talked about on NUFC Matters for months, that this was going to happen, especially with digital ticketing coming in, membership schemes being open to anybody. 38,000 members at Newcastle, given my own club as an example. Are they all Newcastle fans? Some of them could be touts. Who knows? So yeah, that is a worry. Are touts now going from standing outside the ground to working online? Staff members as well from Brazilian side Corinthians, and here we go. I was going to keep this for later, but now that our resident dad has already mentioned VAR, I love this, by the way. Not that I would endorse it in any way, shape or form. Brazilian side Corinthians attempted to storm the VAR room after a controversial red card in their league clash with Gremio on Sunday. So I mean, there's ways of dealing with VAR. I know we jokingly say burn it at the stake, but it's running into the VAR room and trying to sort the officials out the right way to go about it.
Did you see the video footage that ensued after when the journalist shot them on it was a camera phone, wasn't it? It was a phone camera. And they chased after him to get the footage off him. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Unbelievable. And I'm sure as well, if we've got time at some point today, we can talk about Chelsea. And again, I'm not being Mystic Wraith here, right? But this is something I have spoken about and my fellow colleagues on the Amigos on a
Stephen,
Friday
his crystal
night.
balls, I'm telling you.
It is the fact that Roman Abramovich's running of Chelsea, I'm sure, was a little bit, how can we say it, clouded in mystery. That's the way we'll put it.
I'm shocked.
And Chelsea have faced fresh questions over how its former owner, Roman Abramovich, funded the club's success after leaked files revealed a string of secret payments that may have breached strict football rules, including those on financial fair play. And it was only 48 hours ago that I was talking about all clubs having transparency and let's lay out all your particular skeletons in your closets, and let's see which Premier League club actually walks with their head held high and said no controversy behind the scenes here. But there we go. Chelsea potentially could lose points over this. Just
I'm
as
lucky
they're
I'm
starting
sitting
to pick
down.
themselves up. Yeah.
Lucky I'm
definitely.
sitting down, because the shock would have just knocked me over then. That you're telling
With
me
a
Roman
feather.
Abramovich, you know what I mean, was
Exactly.
that it was dodgy. My goodness. But you're absolutely right. It does call that there needs to be more investigation into this, and maybe, I don't know, past be bygones maybe, but obviously
Well, what's
Roman
happened
having
with
to
this-
hand over the
what's
club.
happened- What's happened with the charity donation, right? This is the big question for me. If you remember, the deal to sell Chelsea to Todd Bowley was at the time when we had the war starting in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia. There was a big move to sell the club. Abramovich steps down. Now, again, for me personally, I just felt that was because of the war in Ukraine. I felt, and again, this is my opinion, not the radio stations. I felt he was stepping down, and I guess everybody would be the same. If your country goes to war and somebody like Putin is looking to take back something that he believes is his, he's going to try and claw in as much support and money as possible. One would imagine an ugly arc, which is what I guess you describe
An
Abramovich
ugly
as.
arc, did you say that?
An ugly arc.
Ugly arc, okay.
I would say somebody like Putin would be looking to claw in money from anywhere and anybody, and I would imagine that Mr. Abramovich would be top of that list because of I don't think they've got a great relationship to start with. I can imagine that he'd be trying to claw everything off him. So what I would suggest is he's probably decided to sell the football club and maybe just go on vacation on his big yacht. But I still think Abramovich is involved in some way, shape or form with Chelsea, and again, this is my opinion. I think he is involved in some way, shape or form. We'll never be able to prove it. As I say, these things are all shrouded in mystery. But the fact that this has now come out, this leak about secret payments, I think is a step in the wrong direction for Chelsea, but it's a step in the right direction for potentially the Premier League to start cracking down on some of these other clubs. And for once, it's not Newcastle United and Saudi money in the headlines. So
does that mean you're enjoying it this time?
I still can't enjoy in Newcastle because we're always attacked and hammered about our owners. Yeah. But it's just nice to see that the finger is now being pointed at other clubs, and I still think there are other clubs that need to be looked at.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
We didn't really talk about this regulatory body that's going to be formed by the government. They announced it. Richie Sunak
this is the one I'm
it.
going to run. Yeah.
Well, I think you should run it.
I think I should be. I think I should be the football czar. That's right.
I agree.
You could probably bring us in. You could probably bring us in. Bring us in as
common
support
sense
as well.
I'll be
common sense.
The director of common sense, Ryan.
Yeah, director of common sense, Ryan.
That's me. 100%.
Yeah. What can Steve be?
Well, I could be security.
Security.
Okay.
Muscle.
Director of security, and Ted could be director of fashion.
Yep.
Fashion and music.
Yeah.
Fashion and music. Yeah,
and
we'll throw music as well.
Daz can do like our intro and exit in music. Like when we walk into like a Parliament House or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we have an intro
It could
sound.
be director of creative then.
Communications.
Yes.
And communications.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love it.
Got it sussed. Yeah, we're there.
There we go.
Do you not think?
We're going breaking into Parliament.
Do you not think genuinely though that maybe what the first thing this guy should do or this committee should do is come in and say, okay, let's get our cards on the table. I want a full report on each of your football clubs. There's the questions we need to answer. This is who we need to know where your money's coming from. We need to know this, that, and the other. We'll see your accounts. We've got access to company's house. We can see your year-end accounts. That's fine. What we need to know is where your money's coming from. What the deals are with your players. We need transparency on that. We need transparency on which agents you're working with. We need to know what this payment is and that payment is. It would take a while to do, but you could get a big enough committee to do it. But I tell you what, there would be a few people, and there's a great expression in the Northeast, having a whitey. If they suddenly turned around and did that, I think.
Do you reckon there'd be a surprise packet? Do you know what I mean? Do you reckon there'd be a few clubs that just would be so out of the blue? But their books are just so cooked that you didn't even realise. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, obviously we're not going to name clubs in case we get shut down.
We're not going to. But what I'm trying to say is that I think if we did do that and you threw the blanket over the whole of the Premier League, obviously you got your Man Cities and stuff like that revealing their books. Chelsea, have got some big questions to answer. I still think Man City, they've had alleged breaches and stuff like that. But I think if you were to throw a blanket over all of the clubs and say, righto, come out and share, your finances and stuff, I just think there would be one or two clubs maybe that just would surprise you. You know what I mean? And just be like, oh my God, like how bad it actually is. You know what I mean? How deep does the rot go sort of situation? It'd be really interesting to see just some of those clubs. So I think maybe some of the clubs that have probably been in the Premier League for a while, you know what I mean? And the financial, because it's not, it's not cheap to run a football club in the Premier League these days. So I
think we've missed something though. I think we've missed something. Who's our head of entertainment? Who was our director of entertainment? Did we come up with that one?
Oh, I think we need a female on board.
Was that Ted? Was Ted our director of entertainment, music?
No, he was fashion. All
right, fashion and music.
Don't give him a dual role.
No, we need.
No way you can handle that.
The first thing you must do is we need a director of entertainment, and he comes in and goes, give us your VAR, put it in the centre circle. We're burning it at half time. That was the first job of any football star, surely.
Yeah. Wait, can I then be pyrotechnics as well? I'd love that job. Can I handle the pyrotechnics? That's probably not safe, is it? Nah, probably don't do that to me. I want to do it.
Probably not.
Give me the pyrotechnics.
Although some of them could do with a rocket up their backside. So but yeah, listen, we'll watch that with interest.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, pretty crazy. It all stemming from them storming the VAR there to getting onto the financials of it all. But yeah, it's interesting just to see. Obviously, it just the whole Chelsea sort of saga, just nothing's ever gone in football, is it? You're talking 5-10 years later, we could be investigating Chelsea and Roman Abramovich for years, after we're gone sort of thing. So it's interesting.
This is the problem. This is the problem, right? This is the problem. The Manchester City documentary, which I think we spoke about on the very first week that we did this, and I think you watched it. I watched it. It was only an hour long, but obviously it was about breaking the financial fair play rules, and ultimately, what Chelsea have done in the past. I mean, I remember. I think they were fined. They were fined 8.6 million by UEFA. I think that was earlier this year. Maybe it was in July. It was in the summer before we went live on air, and that was for failing to complete the financial information between 2012 and 2019. Now those breaches were reported by Todd Bowley. And
they were.
He obviously put his hands up and said this is the situation. I'm wondering whether the fact that he's come out and done that has then led to this further investigation, because I think ultimately it's a bit like a hornet's nest. If you hold your hands up and say something, suddenly there's a air of suspicion around the club. Maybe they've decided to dig deeper. And I think it's a question of ownership. I think that they're scratching their heads over this announcement yesterday. Just looking at the BBC here, they said the revelations are likely to intensify questions over how Abramovich, who owned Chelsea for 19 years until he was sanctioned by the British government in 2022, funded a period of unprecedented success. So it's they're digging deeper since they held their hands up, since Todd Bowley held his hands up and said, "Look, we found this out. You might want to look at this," and they find them. Maybe he was trying to get away with things. He just we'll own up to some of it and hope the rest of it goes away, and clearly it hasn't.
So who investigates it then? Who does he open the doors to? Do you know what I mean? Is there a team connected to the Premier League, or is it more the government that would then investigate? Because if a business, say Microsoft or whatever it is, say a large UK business, becomes fraudulent, you start getting questions asked, the money's just sus going at left, right, and centre. I'm guessing is it a police matter? Do you know what I mean? Is it a government matter? I mean, who investigates financial fraud in the UK, and does Premier League football clubs fall under that, under the business sort of aspect? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, in Australia, we have the normal police, and then we have what's called the Australian Federal Police, and the Federal Police would handle all types of like stuff like that. They would do like your raids of your businesses and stuff like that. So it would become an AFP matter for a business here in Australia if they were deemed fraudulent with their money.
That would be the key, whether they're deemed fraudulent. Yeah. Are they just breaking Premier League rules, or are they breaking the law?
Yeah.
If they're breaking the law, the police have got to come in.
That's what I'm saying.
But if they're only breaking Premier League, if they're only breaking football regulations, then it's not a matter for the police, unless subsequent investigation does prove that there was some law breaking going on. So I think what would have to happen, there'd be investigations that the czar, the football czar, could call. He'd be able to bring, or she would be able to, sorry, me. I'd be able to bring in
us.
Yes, we would be able to bring in specialists. We'd appoint specialists to investigate, and we'd rely upon things like the Premier League would have to. But Premier League clubs would have to do a bit of obeying at that time. If we say our specialists are coming in to investigate, we need to see this, this, and this, then they would have to comply or face sanctions. That would be the first step.
According to the Independent, the FA have confirmed it is investigating Chelsea. But the fact is that it's unclear at this stage whether the investigation relates to the information that Todd Bowley self-reported or the new allegations. And the allegations at the moment, I mean, Chelsea have come out and said that, from their perspective, these allegations predate the club's current ownership. They're based on documents which the club's not been shown, and they don't relate to any individual who is presently at the club. The Premier League hasn't commented on Wednesday's report yet, but clearly it's going to look at the information that was broken in The Guardian. The story was broken in The Guardian. They're going to look at that closely. But there's suggestions of payments, and Putin's alleged to be involved as well in various deals with them as well. So it's a murky story. It's a murky nest, and to be honest, the problem is, though, do you have any faith in the governing bodies doing anything? Because
exactly.
I've already touched on Manchester City. They've had more than 100 breaches of financial rules in February, and the club denied having any financial wrongdoing. And then we've still got the Everton saga, which we were told well, exactly, and we were told that the Everton saga was going to draw to a close in October. We were led to believe by the reporting in the media that it was going to be October that Everton were going to face whatever punishment that they were ready to take. And it was the Independent Commission, I think, that were referred to by the Premier League. They overran. They looked at the financial fair play rules break. They have denied the wrongdoing, but they haven't come forward with any kind of announcement yet. So we don't know what's going on with those two clubs. So it comes back to that whole, financial fair play. Is it going to survive, or is it just going to collapse like a pack of cards? It really does. You just wonder where on earth we're going with this, because what is the point of having a lot of rules about financial fair play and allowing clubs to break them, but then not punishing them?
Exactly.
Are we going to see Chelsea, Everton, and Manchester City punished or not?
But the City thing isn't over yet, is it? Aren't we waiting for some announcement on the City thing?
Yeah, but neither's neither's.
Yeah, but we're waiting for Christmas as well. I get that, but which will come first? Who knows? Probably Christmas.
Probably Christmas.
I'd say the money that Man City have got, and the legal team they would have backing them, they'd be able to keep it in the courts for as long as they want. I reckon. I think it'd be one of those things where it wouldn't be just when you're backed financially like Man City are. That doesn't just mean on the pitch. That's off the pitch in terms of business and how it's run and the legal team and all that sort of stuff. And as soon as those documents or those questions were starting to get asked, you bet your bottom dollar that Man City would have gotten a legal team together. They would have had people starting to do the books or whatever it may be, just to start preparing. And then, if it does go to court or whatever it is that, they're trying to investigate, I reckon there'd be, Man City wouldn't be playing easy ball to get it out anytime soon, sort of thing. But the thing for me that I think is what we've had it here in Australia, and there's an instance of it that So in the AFL, we had an instance in 2014 where we actually had a team that won the AFL, won the whole league. And then it found out 2 years later that those players were actually injecting illegal drugs into their system, like performance-enhancing drugs, I mean. And they also were paying the players over the salary cap, right? So what we actually did is the governing body, the AFL came in and the government came in and they actually stripped. They went back and stripped any accolades, including the man of the match, like the Ballon d'Or, if you want, of the AFL from the player from that team who won it. So they went and stripped the player from his player of the season, player of the year award. They went and stripped the club from all awards and all things they did. They didn't do it only for that year as well. They did it for the previous 2 to 3 years before that as well. So I'm wondering if there's anything like that could happen in the Premier League. I mean, how scarily, like Steve said, murky waters and hatch doors are we opening by investigating Chelsea and stuff like that? Could we see them go back in the Man City era, you know what I mean, and go back and strip them of titles,
Well, they should.
You know what I mean? And how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work then in the Premier League, sort of, for instance?
Will you ever find somebody with a big enough set to be able to do that, to suggest and then carry out? Because that's where I think it's lacking. I think you need somebody who's brave, who's got a big pair, who'll say, right,
100%.
What you've done is wrong. This is what we're going to make. We're going to make a bit of an exhibition of you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to parade you. There you go, bang.
Yeah,
down to the fourth tier of English football, or depending on what's been done. But I don't think you'll have anybody in this equation who's got a big enough pair to do it.
Yeah, you've got Man City's done 115. They've been charged with 115 suspected breaches of the top flight's financial rules.
Yep.
And those breaches go from 2009, 2010 to 2017, 2018. So even the more recent breach is still, you're talking 5 years ago, and we're still no further forward. I mean, what is the point of having a system set up if you're not going to punish anybody?
You're going to make an example of somebody just to say we've got teeth and we're going to use them at times.
Yeah.
Now, it'll be unfortunate on whichever club they decide to do first, and how far back would they go is the question. But yeah, you're always going to get, like Todd Bowley, you're always going to get people going, different regime, different ownership, wasn't us, unfair to punish us.
My hands are in the air.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a mess, but it's
all about third-party transactions.
It is.
Someone's got to put the foot down and make a mark. That's what they've got to do.
Yeah.
One question I wanted to ask
Kieran Maguire's a big name in the financial world. He's a football finance expert. You can find him on Twitter. He's always well worth following, especially for stories like this. And he basically said, if there's proof that the club has used third-party transactions to circumvent the profitability and sustainability rules, then sanctions would either financial or a points deduction. He says the latter is more likely, as any commission investigating club circumstances will want to put out a deterrent that dissuades others from repeating such behaviour, which is fine, and I think that's right. However, there's now 3 clubs in the headlights here that everybody is looking at, and nothing is happening. So if you're going to punish one, you've got to punish all 3. So if you're going to punish Man City, then you're going to have to punish Everton, and you're going to have to punish Chelsea, and they're all going to have to get the same punishment. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, completely agree.
You just can't punish Everton and make an example of them and watch them drop into the Championship with the potential of not coming back for a while. You've got to punish Manchester City and you've got to punish Manchester United. And it's an interesting point you make about titles being stripped, etc. I don't think you can rewrite the game. I don't think you can rewrite that, and I don't think that would happen because I think ultimately
they do it in the Olympics.
I just don't think.
Somebody tests positive for performance-enhancing drugs, they get the medal stripped off them, and everybody gets promoted up one leg.
What happens if one of those teams stayed up?
Exactly, that's exactly right, Steve. What if that it relates to someone that was relegated? Then do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? In that season, say we strip Man City of one season and they finish bottom with 0 points or whatever. Do you know what I mean? How do you or do you just strip the title from them and they still finish first? Do you know what I mean? And then you got the teams that were relegated or the teams that lost or were relegated that season, probably at the hands of Man City. Have they then got a lawsuit of opening up of saying, hey, well, we've lost millions and trillions of dollars because we dropped out of the Premier League because Man City. You're saying that Man City cheated that year. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was we've had those situations before, haven't we? And in and around the EFL and what have you.
Yeah.
Where clubs were threatening legal action. You know, the borough, Derby County.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's one. There's a prime example.
Yeah.
But no, I think you can't. I don't think you can go as far as expunging a team's whole season and their results. But what you can do is, if they've won something, you can strip them of that. I think, you know, it's the same as the performance-enhancing drugs at the Olympics. If somebody in seventh place tests positive, okay, 8th becomes 7th for that particular final, but they've not won anything. They're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
But if you're on the podium, if you get gold, silver, or bronze, you get it taken from you, and everybody gets promoted up one. I mean, that's as much as can be done in football. If you've won something, you get it stripped from you. The history books, your name in the history books for that year are expunged, you know, and then you get your other punishments on top of that.
I hope it opens the floodgates, though. I hope it does, because I hope that then it like you said, it forces all the clubs to behave accordingly, and we maybe see a more on par league from the clubs that come up to the clubs that are constantly at the top. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to see that, you know, the Man City winning it every year, you know, and continue to dominate. It just makes for a boring sport. You know, we see it in the Formula 1, for instance. You know what I mean? Everyone says how boring the Formula 1 is because Verstappen keeps winning. Well, it can happen the same with Man City. You know what I mean? If they continue to grow and they continue to financially grow, they continue to buy the best players in the world, they're going to continue to keep winning everything, aren't they? So it becomes, you know, if we want to see some more parity between the top of the teams to the bottom teams, and maybe, hopefully, if there are some questions or some tough, you know, points raised of these, you know, of these dodgy dealings, then hopefully maybe it kicks the bum secretly of the other teams that might be doing a bit of dodgy stuff to get it, you know, in order, and we start to see more of a, you know, like the Man United. You know, it's good. Like we're going to cover that in the show. It's, you know, for me, Man United dominate, you know, for so long, but Man United now dropping down. Do you know what I mean? And you want to see that. You want to see clubs go through that drop. So then you see, like you said, we might never see the Leicesters again win the league, and we want to see that. It makes for exciting times. You know, I'll never forget the year that Leicester.
We all know in 2 years' time, once the Borough's back in the Premier League, they're going to win it. So we want to keep that going. Absolutely.
Exactly. Just on this, Steve, I wanted to ask you just quickly as well, because obviously it's not linked to money, but we are seeing in like 5 days' time where the Premier League's going to sit down to talk about ownership, right? And the loaning of players between ownership. We're talking about Ruben Neves going to Newcastle, and how somehow everyone's not happy with that, so they want now they're taking it to the Premier League, and they want to stop.
He's going to Arsenal now, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I want to ask is, how is this? If this gets opened up, should there be questions asked of Man City? Because you guys know that the Abu Dhabi United Group that owns Man City. You guys know what they own as well, right? So not only do they own Man City 100%, they also own Melbourne City, the team here. They own Mumbai City, New York City. They own Troyes, Lommel, Girona, Sichuan, Juno in Japan, Palermo, Bahia. They own City Football Academy, Japan, City Football Singapore, City Football China, City Football India. They own. The list is incredible of what Abu Dhabi United Group own. Right now, if there's ever been any player dealings, then between any of those teams, any Melbourne City player that's maybe gone to Manchester City, whatever it may be. Steve, see where I'm getting with that? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
Newcastle,
if they're
going to point the finger,
they've already done it with a manager.
Yeah, exactly.
They took the manager of New York City and brought him into, I was going to say Main Road there. That's how old I am. Brought them into the Etihad.
It's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? If they're going to point the finger at Newcastle for that, I mean, you know, you can't. It's just mind boggles that you can't look over there at Man City.
So they won't vote in favour.
Doing it.
They won't vote. So Newcastle and City won't vote in favour.
That's what I'm saying. So so City won't vote yes. Do you know what I mean? But then you'll have, you know, probably, I'd say your Lutons and all that. So your newly promoted teams probably voting yes. So I don't know. I don't know who's pushing the agenda. What club is pushing that agenda? Do you know what I mean?
Spurs,
who's pushing that Newcastle doing the wrong
Newcastle.
thing?
Daniel Levy didn't want
You're
the takeover.
Is it Spurs? Is that who's doing it?
Spurs didn't want the takeover, so Daniel Levy's not a fan of Saudi ownership. There's no doubt about that. So, hey, we've got to 7:30. It's time for sports headlines. Don't forget, Dave, you need to dig out a Christmas song as well.
Oh,
yeah, we
Christmas
do.
Song.
You got Bublé? A bit of Michael Bublé, please.
Goodness.
You got Bublé?
Goodness, I don't know. Well, Daz was on it yesterday. Daz had the lads on it yesterday. So let's. I tell you what. While you're doing, because we're so late, we'll ditch the sport headlines. We'll do our local club headlines instead.
Let's do it.
And while you're doing that. And Ted's recorded his headlines and sent us it. We've got them now.
Well done, that man. That's why we're talking for so long.
Indeed. So while all that's going on, I'll have a look to see if we can find Bublé. If not, we'll find a decent one. It. So, club headlines time.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Good morning, Newcastle United fans. As I mentioned at the top of the programme, Fabian Schär didn't feature in the first of the 3 Euro 2024 qualifying ties for Switzerland this week. Schär trained individually with a fitness coach amid talks of him suffering a slight muscular issue, and he was later spotted in the stands at the game. Contrary to some reports though, he hasn't returned to Newcastle. No decision has been made on whether he'll return to the squad for Saturday's home tie with Kosovo or the game away to Romania on Tuesday. Newcastle United's Carabao Cup quarter-final at Stamford Bridge will be played on Tuesday the 19th of December with an 8 o'clock kick-off, and the game will be televised live on Sky Sports. Tickets go on sale to season ticket holders with 100 points or more at 2 o'clock today, and it'll cost £38 for adults and £19 for concessions. Confirmation of the allocation of tickets is to be confirmed, but extra away capacity in this competition should mean that there should be around 4,300 tickets head to St James's Park. And Newcastle United defender Emil Kraft admits he'd love to stay on Tyneside despite his current contract expiring in the summer. The Swede, 29-year-old, made a remarkable return to first team action earlier this month, partnering Paul Dummett for a well-earned clean sheet in the win over Manchester United at Old Trafford. And that's your Newcastle United headlines on Thursday morning.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, Borough fans. Happy Thursday. Hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Have I got some doozy headlines for you? What is happening with the supercomputer? That's right, the supercomputer is back and it's got some good predictions for us Borough fans. I'll get into that very soon. But first, we've got to talk about ex-Borough player Bolo Zenden. He's come out and he's had an interview with TG Casino about his time at both Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Zenden obviously represented both North East clubs during their long-running spells in the Premier League. He spent 2 years at the Borough from 2003, initially on loan from Chelsea, and in that period helping the club win its first major trophy, and he also played in Europe. Hooray! A move to Liverpool would then follow his spell from the Riverside before the Dutchman eventually found himself moving to the Stadium of Light. A 2-year stay would then he would ultimately bring his playing career to an end. Now, in the interview with TG Casino, he has compared the two, Sunderland v Middlesbrough. Hey, Ted, listen to this. He said, when I was at Middlesbrough, I won the League Cup. Yes, he did. And went on to play in the UEFA. And that earned me a move to Liverpool. It was fantastic. We also finished 7th in the Premier League, and that gave us another platform in Europe. The vibe was different back then. We tried to win a cup or qualify for Europe at Middlesbrough. But Sunderland was mainly about staying up. We finished 10th, which was the best finish Sunderland had achieved that point. It was great, but it was difficult for me, he said, as wherever I played, I tried to either win the league, win a trophy, or play in Europe. But none of that happened at Sunderland. Little bit of Borrows, Zenden, if you don't mind. A little bit of a jab there at Sunderland. But you can catch that interview on TG Casino if you want to find out more. And it's back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The supercomputer is back with a new prediction. And unlike the start of the season, predicting Middlesbrough to finish 18th, the computer's gotten rid of that virus, let me tell you. It's had a reboot, and it's actually come out and put a sensible prediction out. Middlesbrough, ready for this, Borough fans? Now tipped to be third. Hey, computer! Behind Ipswich and then winners Leicester City. That's right. The supercomputer has come out and tipped Middlesbrough to finish third, Ipswich second, and Leicester to win the league. Sunderland are now tipped to finish sixth, behind Borough as well. Good on you, supercomputer. And just finally, The Games That Shaped the Borough is a brilliant new book by club author Anthony Vickers. It tells of the gripping, in-depth story of those sliding doors moments that have changed the club forever. The Games That Shaped the Borough by Anthony Vickers is available now from the MFC retail club shop at the Riverside Stadium, priced at £15. It will be available online from Friday the 17th of November. It is the perfect Christmas gift for every Borough fan. That is your Borough headlines.
I've got to ask you, every time you say that supercomputer with an accent, you're not trying to be Geordie there, are you? Because it comes out Chinese.
I don't know how I'm trying to pronounce it. I'm just trying to put the emphasis on supercomputer, and it comes out a little bit different every time, I feel.
No,
kind of like the Aussie Kiwi. Do you know what I mean? Like
it comes out Shanghai, mate. Shanghai every time.
Doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that's where a
Shanghai
supercomputer would be, though, right?
Indeed. Anyway, right of reply belongs to Sunderland, I assume.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Morning, Sunderland fans. Easier headlines this beautiful morning. Sunderland boss Tony Mowbray has hailed Jewison Bennett's attitude and revealed the Black Cats midfielder has asked to play for the club's under-21 side in order to maintain his match fitness. The Costa Rica international has played just 9 minutes of first-team football in the Championship this season, coming on as a late substitute in the 5-0 win over Southampton. Jewison is fine. These squad issues are just going to be around, and I have to make the decisions as to who's going to play and who isn't, Mowbray explained. I've had a few conversations with Jewison. He wants to be playing football and he doesn't want his international situation with Costa Rica to be disturbed too much. I would never go up and push him to play in the under-21s. We've discussed it, and his attitude is that it is better to get 90 minutes on a Friday night than 5 minutes or no minutes the next day. That's a huge credit to him and is only going to stand him in good stead moving forward. At his age, he just needs to be playing football. That's what the kid wants to do, so I would view that as a real positive. Sunderland defender Niall Huggins is ready to step onto the international stage for the first time with Wales after expressing fears that a mystery injury which left him with weak bones would end his career. When he first joined Sunderland, he suffered an initial stress fracture in his back, then suffered reoccurrences of similar issues in other areas too. It has not been until this season that Huggins has been able to shrug off the long-lasting injury problems and show the potential that persuaded Marcelo Bielsa to hand him a Premier League debut for Leeds at Arsenal in February 2021. It literally feels like I'm starting my professional career, said Huggins, who has now started 11 Sunderland games this term and scored his first senior goal, the Championship Goal of the Month contender against Watford in October. And finally, Sunderland AFC 11-game season tickets are now on sale. The half-season tickets are valid at the Stadium of Light for the second part of the 2023-24 campaign, starting from the club's match with Preston North End on New Year's Day. Although they will be distributed digitally, fans can request a gift certificate by emailing ticket.office@safc.com, that's ticket.office@safc.com, or to purchase or for more information, fans of course are encouraged to visit safc.com. Them's your headlines.
Ted, Rye and Steve, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the cat and the two.
And if anybody wants to pay the ransom for Ted to release him from the hostage situation he's clearly in, reading that news headlines,
he was
on the bog.
100% in the toilet. 100%. He was reading that from the morning toilet. 100%.
He was in the netty. That's where he was.
That tiles there. Yeah, I heard the water running in the background. 100%. He was running him a bath or something. 100%
He just
Ted
sounded like he sounded like he had as if he was sitting in a room like heavily guarded with like on a grainy VHS
tape. You will
tape.
get these headlines out. Yeah. You will.
Do you know what? I tell you what, fellas. What I'm really impressed with is we said everybody do a minute sort of headlines for your club. It took us 8 minutes to get through 3 clubs.
They get longer and longer.
They are. I was worried with Ted's there. I was thinking, that music's going to finish before he stops reading.
When you're a hostage, you're told to read things slowly and clearly.
Yeah.
Well, he's
reading from the.
He's a hostage to Bolo Zenden. That's what he is. He's a hostage to Bolo Zenden. Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
On your Boro Zenden. What a little cheeky jab that was.
I know.
Loved it.
Great job.
The supercomputer's back, lads.
Supercomputer.
Supercomputer.
Yeah.
Supercomputer, Steve. It's back.
Yeah, supercomputer.
That's it.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed because I missed it. I don't know how I've missed this supercomputer story. It's unbelievable. It's disappeared. But there we go. The supercomputer's back. I think you should have a regular spot on the show. The supercomputer.
They give it a reboot. And now it's sensible.
It'll be like one of those.
Have like AI voices things.
A BBC B computer where you have to have a tape recorder and it plays that.
Do you remember those days? I used to do 9,600 board. I remember it screaming in my ear when we were trying to connect computers in those days. The kids of today will be going, "What? Dial-up? What's dial-up?" Yeah.
I know, mate. They'll never know the speeds of dial-up back then.
All of that to play bat and ball. Or asteroids.
Yeah, because you couldn't use it to send a JPEG to somebody, could you? It
No,
would just
you
take
couldn't
3
do
weeks.
that.
Yeah.
The asteroids game with the little pink ship used to come across the top and you get 1,000 points for hitting it. I mean, that was brilliant.
Minesweeper, mate. Minesweeper was the
Minesweeper.
best.
Anyway, I haven't told you, fellas. We
love
haven't discussed. I know we're going to play a Christmas song now, but I've got to let you know. I've got a little game for us to play today.
Hey,
Ooh.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm keen. Let's get into it.
Boz is back. What does Boz say? So our absolutely wonderful clown of a previous Prime Minister, I've just taken a little snippet of him talking, as he does, and we've whistled a word out. You've just got to guess what that word is. Dead easy. So Boz is back.
This could go bad.
This could go very bad. That's why you wouldn't believe what he went on to say if I played the full thing. He's talking about something very naughty, but Boz is back. What does Boz say?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
So what does Boz say? What is
I
missing?
mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
Yeah, good bourgeois types, but what are they?
Bourgeois.
That is the question.
Good bourgeois.
I had to get the ref's whistle in, by the way. Did you hear that?
I liked it.
We keep the flag flying. Anyway, look, you can ponder on that while we listen to Michael Bublé.
I love it.
Which one?
I absolutely love it.
You want me to?
Oh,
you want
what
me to
have you
choose? We've got loads.
Yeah, have a choice.
Well, he's Mr.
We
Christmas.
have a choice.
Okay. Well, I think
he is.
I think he's famous.
Actually a banger.
He's quite famous for this one. Ooh.
Oh, I love it. Oh, get in that spirit. Get in the spirit.
Which bottle? So he's Bublé. He's our 7:30 Christmas song at 7:43. We're late again, fellas. It's beginning to look a lot like
Christmas.
Oh yes, it's Christmas.
Oh, Christmas. Once
More.
We need jingle bells. We need jingle bells.
more.
There you go.
Oh,
Rise selection
geez,
this
hit
morning.
The button. Hit
Well
the button.
done.
Turn
Our
the chair
Our
around.
7:30 Christmas song at 7:43
You
was
would have
Michael
golden buzzed
Bublé.
me then.
Yeah, indeed.
Wow.
Indeed.
Absolutely cracking.
Does it
Getting
put you
in
in
the
the mood?
spirit, lads.
Oh, good.
Oh, how's it ever?
Oh, good.
How's it ever?
So the big question then, seeing as you're in the spirit, is what does Boz say? Any thoughts? Here he goes.
I mean, I have some perfectly
Well, we got to give the what's
respectable,
out.
good bourgeois types.
Yeah, what is whistled out? Yeah, 0330 043 2002.
Play it again. Play it again.
I will.
Ryan spoke over it.
I will. I promise. 0330 043 2002. What is the word we've removed from his Bozness?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
Yeah, well, there you go. You can give us a shout. 0330 043 2002. Hey, fellas, we have car stickers now. Bloomin' heck for all
Right.
3 stations. We have car
Yes.
stickers. People have been contacting us saying,
Awesome.
I've got a car sticker. Get in.
Yes, let's get in.
Yeah, I know.
Get in.
I know.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Put them on the buses
Which
next
ones?
to our faces. We got the faces on the buses, right? That's right. Steve, Ted, and Rye on the buses, right? And put the stickers next to them. Right? That's how big we're going. I'm telling you.
There's a bit of a line over here you might not have realised, mate. You know, your face is only good enough to be on the back of a bus, and that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah, exactly. Got a face for radio.
So have you guys got any thoughts then? Missing word from Bozza? By the way, do you know what?
It's got to be something simple, hasn't it? It's got to be something
It is,
simple. It
yeah.
says we've got
It is.
some very nice people. Some very nice people. Some bourgeois people.
You're saying people?
Yeah.
People.
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
Perfectly respectable people?
Servants.
Servants. Nice. Like it.
I got some perfectly respectable servants that
Yeah.
bring in cups of tea.
Yeah. Well,
Good bourgeois people.
Bourgeois people.
Bourgeois.
People, you know, this started with an idea for Michael Carrick. I was going to take a Michael Carrick line,
clever.
and then I thought, do you know what? We'll get complaints we've used Borough. And then I thought, okay, then we'll use Eddie, and then we'll get complaints because we haven't used Borough. So I went for Boris.
Steve, did you tune in to the last 10 minutes of the show after you left yesterday? Full Borough affair, mate. 10 minutes of just pure Middlesbrough gold. It was
No,
amazing.
I was hot-footing it for a train, so I didn't manage to catch it, unfortunately.
Last 10 minutes
but I'll listen to it on the podcast, which is available
fantastic.
from all good podcast downloads. If you miss a show, you can go and download it from the podcast places like Podbean, etc.
Did anybody shout at
Spotify
you?
as well now?
Are you training for a race? And you shout back, "No, I'm racing for a train."
That's exactly what happened. Were you watching this? We've got about 10 minutes to go to the news. Let's get back onto football. David Moyes. I'm going to go down that route. David Moyes, he's done well at West Ham. We've given him praise, and rightly so, on this show. He was a legend at Everton. He, like many, faltered at Manchester United, following in Fergie's footsteps. But West Ham seems to have been a renaissance for David Moyes. He's gone there. He took his time, it has to be said. There was a little bit of movers and shakers at boardroom level. A few incidents I remember where fans were basically rounding on the directors in the stand. They had to go through a big ground move, of course, which also causes a bit displeasure with fans. Moving, of course, from the ground that they played in since the year dot to a stadium that was built
which we call Upton Park.
That seems to have gone well now. The fans seem to have seem to have settled it. The fans seem to have settled into the new ground now, don't they?
But they've always had that problem, haven't they, with the naming? Because they won't call it Upton Park. They call it the Bowling Ground. But everybody in the world called it Upton Park. Bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. It is. But David Moyes has gone there, and despite all of this kind of, problems and issues behind the scenes, he went silently about his job, and he's gradually got them to a point now where they are challenging at the top of the table, and they've got a trophy in their belt. They've got a European trophy, and from their perspective, they've probably thought this season was going to be tougher than last, because they also lost their boyhood hero, if you like. They lost Declan Rice to Arsenal, the London rivals Arsenal, and they probably, like Spurs, were looking at this season thinking going to be tough this. But they've recruited well. They've brought in some really good players. I mean, Paquetá's there, of course, who Newcastle were linked with before they brought Bruno Guimaraes. But Bowen as well, another one who has done particularly well.
Ward-Prowse this year.
Ward-Prowse, another one who they picked up from Southampton, who were relegated. So they've brought in some really good players, but it's always up to the manager. We talk about this on this channel quite a bit, about a manager being given players and told to get on with it. Well, it's quite clear that Moyes is similar in a way to Eddie Howe. He clearly has a good recruitment team around him. He clearly has his hands he has his fingers on the pulse. He's clearly got an involvement in who they bring in. He's also got a former Newcastle player who's obviously part of his backroom staff, which Kevin Nolan, who, I've got to be honest, I got to know Kevin really well while he was at the club, and he's a proper football man. I would call him old school. He likes a pint after work, but when he's at work, he's focused, and I think he's been a big part of why there's been success for David Moyes, because he recently retired, if you like, Kevin Nolan. He came out the game within the last 10 years, but he's new to the whole coaching thing, but he was part of that dressing room at Newcastle, got Newcastle promoted, and he knows what it takes to have a good dressing room. And I think that's a big part of what David Moyes has done down there. He's created that the will to win in the dressing room is important, but it's also been able to turn that kind of backs to the walls mentality and it's us against them mentality into the winning mentality. And I think Moyes has done a cracking job down there. So to hear that he's going to leave, I think it'll be a big blow for West Ham. I think it's a huge blow for them, because I wouldn't say they're in a transition. They're doing well. They're riding high. They're still up there. They're still unbeaten in Europe. It's the longest unbeaten run in Europe I think an English club has had in quite some time. Yeah. But it's a big shock, right? I am shocked to hear that he's potentially going to leave his position, and there's no explanation as to yet. There's no confirmation, of course, but for a paper to go and run this today, it's clearly something that's in the ethos and it's in the offing. So what's your thoughts on that, and how big a blow is it going to be for West Ham?
It's a massive blow. I think it's a good sign as well of what a good manager can do with a good amount of time. Do you know what I mean? I feel like when you've got a good manager at a club and they're not given the time, they're not given the couple of transfer windows, they're not given the time to implement their strategies, then obviously no one can turn around things, in an instant. We saw him go to Man United, not really have the success there. And we were kind of wondering, well, is that it? He was at Everton for so long, did wonders there, took the Man United job, which, let's be honest, was going to be a big task for anyone that went in there. I thought he was the right choice, to be honest with you. He had the credentials, he had the stability at Everton, and it was the right choice to go there. But he just wasn't given enough time. And then we've seen him come back and given the time at West Ham, and look what he's done there. So he's a very successful manager. Now, whatever his reasons for retiring, if it's retirement, if it's just stepping away from West Ham. But one thing that I think you've touched on there, and I think that you might have given away a bit of a secret there, is I think they're lining up Kevin Nolan to take over for West Ham. I think that there was always a bit of a plan, that there was David Moyes, and Kevin Nolan was a bit of his understudy, learn from the best, if you will. And David Moyes will step to one side, go and do whatever he needs to do. And Kevin Nolan will come in, a young, hungry manager that is obviously a West Ham legend. Now, let's not forget, Kevin Nolan has managed before. He did when he retired, not retired, but he went to Leyton Orient after leaving West Ham in 2016, became the player manager there, then Notts County, and was the manager there for a bit before then heading back to West Ham as the assistant. So I actually think, I'm tipping Kevin Nolan to have a big say in what's happening, and I think you'll see that David Moyes is stepping aside for Kevin Nolan to come in, because I have heard exactly what you've heard, Steve, is that Kevin Nolan is a bit of a mastermind behind the scenes there, and he's West Ham through and through, isn't he? If you cut his wrist, he bleeds West Ham, and he I think West Ham. I'm not a West Ham fan. I'd love, if you're listening and you're a Hammers fan, please get in the WhatsApp. Love to hear from you. But that my hot tip is that Kevin Nolan is there to take over. I think he'll step into the role. I think it'll be his club, his team. I think he's been behind the scenes. He knows the players well. He's probably had some say with Moyes in the recruitment, of who they're bringing in. It seems like a natural succession for me that Kevin Nolan would then take on the role. So yeah, for me, I don't want to see a man like David Moyes out of our game. I don't know where he goes. I hope it's not like a Saudi or something like that, just to get a cash grab. I hope he can go to maybe to a struggling club in the Premier League where he can just help get some stability, kind of like the Roy Hodgson role. I liken it too, where Roy Hodgson went back to Crystal Palace after they were sort of fallen away after Vieira went in there for a bit. So maybe he can go there, but maybe he's paid his dues. Maybe England job. Thoughts, David Moyes? England job? Nah.
Not in a month of Wednesdays.
Imagine. Have I just given away a secret there?
No.
No, Gareth's around, isn't he? Gareth's around for a couple of years before he's going to go anywhere. I think this Moisey thing's all been accelerated because they went 6 without a win, and the fans were getting a bit restless, and I think that's where this has come from. That's why the timing is where it's at. They're used to winning trophies now in Europe. So to go 6 without a win, and they've halted that slide. They've won the last 2, one in the league, one in the. He's only 60. Yeah. He's
only 60 years, David Moyes. I feel like he's still got a few years. Maybe he does want to retire. Maybe he doesn't want to be the next Neil Warnock, the old Wheel Warnocks. So
do you think this is Moyes?
I don't know.
Do you think this is mutual? Do you think Moyes is
That's
part
what I'm
of
thinking.
This? You think so?
That's what I'm thinking. I think he's come into agreement. I think West Ham has said, we want Kevin Nolan to be our manager. We want you to train him, give him, blah, blah, blah. And then in a year's time, you step aside and Kevin Nolan's his team. That's what I'm saying. I honestly think that they're doing that. I think they're honestly looking at giving Kevin Nolan the reins for the future as a long-term sort of succession. And that David Moyes has been asked, kind of like your John Eustace, where he's been told that Wayne Rooney's coming in, you can go now or you can stick around for a month. I think he's been told that Kevin Nolan's taking the team from next season, and this will be your last. And if you can always please give Kevin all your whatever you can, and then thanks for your service, sort of thing. So that's what I'm predicting right now.
Watch this.
That's my Wayne Rooney by Christmas.
I think Nolan would do a good job, and I mean it's interesting because we often talk about Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, etc., players coming in, big reputations, big name players, and they come in, Wayne Rooney, and the flop as managers because they're literally just getting the job because of the big name. But like you just said, Kevin Nolan's done it the hard way. He's learned his craft. He's gone low. I often feel Frank Lampard probably would have been more of a success if he'd remained at, say, Derby. I
agree.
If you remember, he was at Derby. He did well there. I mean, he was the one who discovered Mason Mount. Mason Mount's not exactly gone on to cover himself in glory at Manchester United. It has to be said, but he's become. He got his opportunity because of Frank Lampard. He owes a lot to Frank Lampard, and I think sometimes you should be able to. You should be made to earn the position, really, to start at the bottom and work your way up. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it works in football. And big names will always be the ones who get through. And there's a multitude of players. Dave will know some. I certainly know some. I could reel off a list of the former entertainers at Newcastle United who've all got their coaching badges, who would have loved the opportunity to manage. I mean, one or two of them have managed to do it over the years. Lee Clark, of course, who holds the championship record for the most consecutive amount of wins. Beat Brian Clough's record. In the championship with Huddersfield, did fantastically well there. He's had ups and downs. He did well in Scotland as well. A couple of blots on his copybook only because of the owners behind the scenes where let him down. Steve Watson has managed at Gateshead. He's managed at York City. Steve Howe would love the opportunity, but he feels that opportunity's probably passed him by. But there's three of the entertainers, three of the original class of '92 at Newcastle who could have gone on to do it. But if Kevin Nolan gets it, I think the club will be in safe hands. Anyway, it's 8 o'clock.
Just quickly before the news, I just wanted to say as well, without Kevin Nolan, Newcastle United would still be in that championship after 09-10. Kevin Nolan in 2009-10 was incredible. I mean, he scored like 17 goals, I think, that season. Yeah, it got you back up.
Barton was superb, mate. Barton was superb as well. It was that dressing room mentality, which is what I came round to before. I mean, I was invited up to the after party when they got promoted that year up at the Diamond in Newcastle, and we, what you call him, Barton got up and sang like a couple of songs in, Dignity from Deacon Blue was the song that Newcastle used to play in the dressing room, and Barton got up and sang the full song without any lyrics in front of him. He knew it off the top of his heart, and then he got up and did Geordie Alouetta in front of everybody, and all the players were singing it. So it just showed you that team was together. It was a big togetherness in the dressing room, and that was majority of the team went down, and those who stayed got them back up. And I think we'll always be thankful for that, always.
But the all important question is what's Boz say? So we've whistled out a word. You've got to guess what the word is. It isn't people, and it isn't servants.
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
There you go. What does Boz say? Give us a shout. 033 or 043 2002. Time for the news. Our belter. John Cougar.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Oh, we dig some decent ones out on a morning.
Don't we?
We talk footy, but we dig some decent
Jack
ones
and
out. Indeed.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Come on then, we've got to talk.
Absolutely love
It's
it.
up to us now. Are you still eating?
My dinner.
Are you still eating? Is that what it is?
I finished it. I put it down.
Let's do the news headlines while our Aussie compatriot digests his food.
Well, I better not play Borough first then if he's still digesting today.
Now put me on. I'm good. I'm good to go.
Are you good to go? Are you going to go? All right.
It's my computer time.
I was trying to balance it, you see, because I think Steve... Yes. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
Smoggies and proud. Borough News.
Good morning, Middlesbrough fans. Happy Thursday. Hope you're fantastic, safe and well. I have got some banger of our headlines for you this morning. A little supercomputer has come back with a new prediction, but we'll get back into that in a little bit as ex-Borough player Bolo Zenden has outlined varying ambitions as the major difference he found between playing for Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Oh, that's right. In an interview with TG Casino, Zenden represented both Northeast clubs, and he has spoken about how they both compare. Ted and Sunderland fans, are you ready for this? He went on to say, obviously, he went and played for the Borough from 2003 for 2 years, initially on loan from Chelsea. In that period, he helped the club win its first major trophy, and then he also played in Europe. He then went on to play for Liverpool after the spell at the Riverside, before the Dutchman eventually found himself moving to the Stadium of Light in 2009. In an interview, as I said, with TG Casino, he said, in comparison, he enjoyed both his time at Sunderland and Middlesbrough, but it was different periods. I won the League Cup at Middlesbrough and we went on to play in the UEFA Cup, and that earned me a move to Liverpool. We also finished 7th in the Premier League, and that gave us a platform in Europe. The vibe was different back then. We tried to win a cup or qualify for Europe at Middlesbrough, but Sunderland was mainly about staying up. We finished 10th, which was the best finish Sunderland had ever achieved at that point. It was great, but it was difficult for me, he said, as wherever I played, I tried to either win the league, win a trophy, or play in Europe. But none of that happened at Sunderland. I'm sorry, Mackams, I'm sorry. It was different for me. He did say that he enjoyed his time at Sunderland, though. But there you go, Burrow Zenden, as I now call him, coming out saying Middlesbrough, they're challenging for titles there. And as I said right off the start, the supercomputer, as I try not to ruin the pronunciation of that, is back. And it's got a new prediction, Borough fans. And unlike the start of the season predicting Middlesbrough to finish 18th, the computer has gotten rid of that ugly virus it had and actually put out a sensible prediction. Middlesbrough are now tipped to be 3rd. That's right, behind Ipswich and eventual winners Leicester City. The supercomputer has put Middlesbrough to finish 3rd this season. Sunderland are also tipped to finish behind the Borough in 6th position. Good on you, supercomputer. And just finally, the games that shape Borough is the brilliant new book by club author Anthony Vickers. It tells the gripping, in-depth story of those sliding door moments that have changed the club forever. The Games That Shape the Borough by Anthony Vickers is available now from the MFC Retail Club shop at the Riverside Stadium, priced at £15, and will be available online from Friday the 17th of November. The perfect Christmas gift for every Borough fan. That is your Middlesbrough headlines.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Good morning, Newcastle United fans. It is another day, Thursday morning. Here's your Newcastle United headlines. Fabian Schär didn't feature in the first of the 3 Euro 24 qualifying ties for Switzerland. Schär trained individually with a fitness coach amid talk of him suffering a slight muscular issue. He was later spotted in the stands at the game. Contrary to some reports, though, he hasn't returned to Newcastle. No decision has been made on whether he'll return to the squad for Saturday's home tie with Kosovo or the away game to Romania on Tuesday. Newcastle United's Carabao Cup quarter-final at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea will be played on Tuesday the 19th of December with an 8 o'clock kick-off live on Sky Sports. Tickets go on sale to season ticket holders with 100 points or more at 2 o'clock today, and they will cost £38 for adults and £19 for concessions. Confirmation of the allocation size is to be confirmed, but extra weight capacity in this competition should mean that around 4,300 tickets will be available for our supporters. And Newcastle United defender Emil Kraft admits he would love to stay on Tyneside despite his current contract expiring next summer. The Swede made a remarkable return to first team action earlier this month, partnering Paul Dummett for a well-earned clean sheet in a win over Manchester United at Old Trafford in the Carabao Cup. And that is your Newcastle United headlines this Thursday morning.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Morning, Sunderland fans. Here's your headlines this beautiful morning. Sunderland boss Tony Mowbray has hailed Jewison Bennett's attitude and revealed the Black Cats midfielder has asked to play for the club's under-21 side in order to maintain his match fitness. The Costa Rica international has played just 9 minutes of first-team football in the Championship this season, coming on as a late substitute in the 5-0 win over Southampton. Jewison is fine. These squad issues are just going to be around and I have to make the decisions as to who's going to play and who isn't, Mowbray explained. I've had a few conversations with Jewison. He wants to be playing football and he doesn't want his international situation with Costa Rica to be disturbed too much. I would never go and push him to play in the under-21s. We've discussed it, and his attitude is that it is better to get 90 minutes on a Friday night than 5 minutes or no minutes the next day. That's a huge credit to him and is only going to stand him in good stead moving forward. At his age, he just needs to be playing football. That's what the kid wants to do, so I would view that as a real positive. Sunderland defender Niall Huggins is ready to step onto the international stage for the first time with Wales after expressing fears that a mystery injury which left him with weak bones would end his career. When he first joined Sunderland, he suffered an initial stress fracture in his back, then suffered reoccurrences of similar issues in other areas too. It has not been until this season that Huggins has been able to shrug off the long-lasting injury problems and show the potential that persuaded Marcelo Bielsa to hand him a Premier League debut for Leeds at Arsenal in February 2021. It literally feels like I'm starting my professional career, said Huggins, who has now started 11 Sunderland games this term and scored his first senior goal, the Championship Goal of the Month contender against Watford in October. And finally, Sunderland AFC 11-game season tickets are now on sale. The half-season tickets are valid at the Stadium of Light for the second part of the 2023-24 campaign, starting from the club's match with Preston North End on New Year's Day. Although they will be distributed digitally, fans can request a gift certificate by emailing ticket.office@safc.com. That's ticket.office@safc.com. Or to purchase or for more information, fans of course are encouraged to visit safc.com. Them's your headlines.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
You mentioned
Free the
Bolos.
Mackham one. Free the Mackham one. Free the Mackham one. Free the Mackham one.
Free him from his water closet. There you go. You mentioned Bolo Zenden there. Well, Rye did. Do you know what he's doing now, Zenden?
No.
Where's Rye gone? Where's Rye?
I'm back. I'm here. I'm sorry.
We could hear that.
I'm here.
We could
No,
hear
I
that
wasn't here.
swallow.
I was here.
We could hear that
I'm
swallow.
here. I'm here. I muted you.
You
and
muted
I
me.
forgot to put
Everybody
the
does,
dial back
mate.
up.
Everybody
I'm
does.
sorry.
Everybody does.
I heard
There's
you when I was
nothing new
talking.
there.
I'm like, why can't you hear me? And turned me down. Yes, Bolo Zenden.
Bolo
Or
Zenden.
Borrow Zenden, as I now call him.
Yeah, indeed. He's running hotels.
What is
He's
he
on
up to?
hotels. He's got his
Is
own
he
hotel.
really?
Yeah, the Zen chain of hotels in
my
Holland.
goodness.
His first one opened in Maastricht. So, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, a bit of info for
It was
you.
interesting. It was a good little interview, that, actually. It was just funny just to see the different times that he was spent at Middlesbrough and then obviously at Sunderland as well. Just saying that, at Middlesbrough he's going for trophies and, and winning the league almost. And then he's at Sunderland, he was saying was trying to keep him up. So it was just, different times back then. Different times. Old Bolo Zenden.
Yeah.
Great player, though. Good player back in his day.
He
Used
was
to
man
love
of the
watching
match
him.
for the 2004 Cup final. He was man of the match, wasn't he? He scored the penalty.
He was too.
Which
Yep, he was
everybody in
too.
the world tells us, unless you're a Borough fan, that should never have stood because he touched it twice. But yeah, we don't care. It counted. Good old Mike Riley. And you see, he was a good player. There's an interesting
He was a very
question
good player.
comes out of that cup final.
Yes.
Who was the ex-Borough player, former Borough player, who was on the Bolton bench that day?
Ooh, okay. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, not as good
How
as...
long have I got to look at that?
Yeah, how long have you got to look at Google? You've got about 3 minutes, mate.
I'm not going to Google it. You know me.
It's not as good a quiz
my answer
question.
to everything's Mario Balotelli, mate. That's what I'm going to say. Mario Balotelli.
When did he sign for us? I can't remember that one. Yeah, not as good as Boz's back. So what's Boz say? Here we go again. What's Boz saying here? What's whistled out?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
Yeah, good bourgeois types. Sounds like they should be in Zenden's hotel.
Dealers.
Well, you gave us a little bit more, didn't you? You gave us a little bit more, a little cheeky listen to the further down the line after that one. So
Yeah.
That's why I
we
said
both got
dealers.
it
That's
wrong.
why he said dealers.
Yeah.
Let's the cat out the bag. He was actually talking about spliffs. that's what he was doing an interview on drugs. But there you go. But what's the word that's missing here from Boz's gob?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
There you go.
Bourgeois types.
So it's not people, it's not
There you
servants,
go.
and it's certainly not dealers. So there you go.
No. I'm trying to think
Okay.
who this player is now for Bolton. That's going to... Off you go, Steve. I mean, I'm deep in thought here.
Football lawmakers are to consider trials of sin bins for dissent in professional competitions, adopting rugby's rule where only the captain can approach the referee as part of a drive to tackle misbehaviour. Now, we said at the top of the programme, I thought that was a rule anyway. Only captains can approach the captain.
It's not a rule.
Only captains can approach the referee, sorry.
It's not a rule. It's more guidance. It's more guidance. I mean, it was to be. Right. It's to be. Yeah, it was never. I don't think it was ever formally put into a rule book as such. But it was. Yeah, it was. It was the preferred way of dealing with things. And the ref, of course, can pull the captain over at any time and have a chat with him. But he can do that with any player.
Yeah. Okay. So sin bins, lads.
It's up to the captain, though.
Sin bins. What do we make of sin bins?
Yeah, I mean. Isn't that what the red card is? Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, a sin bin would work. A sin bin would work to prevent red cards. It would prevent. Yeah. It would prevent. It would.
So what, they go off for 5 and come back, sort of thing.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's a cool and down period.
Yeah.
So you're down to 10 men temporarily.
I mean, I think part of the excitement of a game is when you go down to 10 men. You see a team lift, or you see a team absolutely fall apart, and I think it's I think it keeps the boys a bit in check, doesn't it? I mean, if you're now knowing that you can probably go and break, Harry Maguire's ankles, or you can go in and take Anthony Gordon out, when he's running in for goal, and you're just going to get 5 minutes to the bin. Of course, you're going to do it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's more for dissent. I think the idea is, they're going to use it more for dissent to try and cut down all the back chat and all the rubbish that goes on.
Well, shouldn't that just be a yellow anyway, Dave? Do you know what I mean? Shouldn't you, if you've had enough? I mean, you're the referee guru here, but if you've got someone giving you lip, you know what I mean? And we saw it with Dan Neil. I mean, obviously that's maybe where it could have come from. Is where Dan Neil's bit back at Jared Gillette in that game. That he's got him for dissent and sent him off on his second yellow. But I would think a yellow or a red is sufficient enough to, and especially if they've gotten a yellow, that which is a warning that the player should probably zip it up. You know what I mean? Rather than 5 minutes on the bench and then come back. You know what I mean? So, and what happens in that 5 minutes if there's a sin bin? Are they down to 10 men? Do you know what I mean? For 5 minutes and then they come back to 11?
That's the idea. Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree. I'd like to see more info. I'd like to see how they're planning on implementing. Yeah. Is it if you get a yellow card for dissent, you also get the sin bin? Is it like an added punishment to try and cut down all this garbage that happens on the pitch that we've seen? Or is it just another option? Right. Is it another option? You can get a yellow card. You can get sin binned. I'd like to see how I agree with you. Let's keep the game simple. For God's sake, look what we've done with VAR. We've complicated it to the extent that it's damaging the game. Yeah.
Matt, so we'd have to have like a time. I mean, I see it in league and all that. Where you have the timer of he's been sent off a sin bin. And the timer's got 15 minutes till old mate's back on. I mean, it's too much for football. Do you know what I mean? Yellow card and red cards are there for the warning. It's simple. If you slag off at the referee, you get a yellow card. If it's worse than that, you get a red card, and off you go. And and in the championship, we're seeing it even. And Steve's just had it with Bruno. Do you know what I mean? You accrue too many yellows, and off you go. You get the one match ban anyway. So you know what I mean. There is a system there in place that you shouldn't be wanting to get yellows or just taking a yellow on the chest for You shouldn't be slagging off the referees. The thing that is allowing it is the farcicalness of VAR. I'm sorry, it is referees. I mean, if you want players to stop back-chatting you, then it's that what Ange Postecoglou said the other day. It's about demanding that respect back as a referee and having that presence that you're not going to rely on other technology to make the decisions for you. If you're out there 100% making human error and you're commanding that pitch, you're not relying on VAR, then no player is going to say anything to you. But when when you've got the manager of Brighton telling the world that he hates 80% of referees and thinks that whenever they do a VAR, it's wrong, how am I, if I'm a player under him at Brighton, then meant to respect the referee on the pitch when I've got my manager, my boss, the person who picks me, puts me in, the starting 11, the person I have the closest relationship to, meant to respect and abide by what the referee's saying when I've got my actual boss saying how ridiculous they are. Do you know what I mean? It stems from that. That's where it stems from for me. The respect that referees get needs to come from the top in terms of management, in terms of the public eye and stuff like that. When we are laughing at them because of VAR, when we've got managers coming out saying they're ridiculous, when we've got match of the day punditry saying how bad they are, then when you're a player on there, you're just not going to respect them because it's just the thing to do. It's like when you're in the schoolyard, you're on the schoolyard and there's one kid getting bullied and then other kids pile in. It's human nature, and it sucks, and it's bad. But if you want to see the dissent removed from the football, you have to get respect back first for the referees.
I agree. I mean, this is why Arteta should be hauled over the coals for what he did with this Arsenal Newcastle game. I mean, he should have really been reprimanded for that. And I mean, it's gone too long now. I can't see them doing any retrospective hauling him over the coals now. But yeah, I agree. It does start at the top, and the referee really should. They were given an opportunity to make example of referees this season. I mean, referees can give managers yellow cards, can't they? They can give, I think we've seen a few of the managers. We've seen them sent to the stands, in the past, but now it's supposed to be clamped down on. But it's just one of those rules that's gone by. There was lots of merriment at the fact that they were talking about banning. Assistant coaches couldn't be standing in the technical area, and they were saying that was Newcastle being punished for what they were doing last year. But that it's another rule that just gets ignored. The 6-second rule, is that still in the rule books, Dave? I'm pretty sure it is.
Thrown out.
And people just ignore it. And if a player, players or managers ignore it, then eventually it just becomes a rule which people just ignore, and
exactly.
It's a waste of time. But sin bins for me, look, it works in rugby. If they brought it in, I wouldn't be against it. I don't think I wouldn't be up in arms about them bringing it in. If I could see the benefit to it, if there was a benefit to it, if there was a player who was persistently fouling, but he wasn't trying to injure a player, then and it was a cooling down period, I wouldn't be against it. But I tell you what, we would end up with people appealing against it, and VAR would probably VAR would get involved. So then you would then have a VAR official double checking whether he should be sent to the sin bin or not. I mean, we could be there till midnight on a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday.
We've got every player mic'd up now.
we could all be there till midnight on a 3 o'clock on a Saturday. The bars would be closed. The bars would be closed by the time we got out the ground, because you literally would be VAR checking that as well. So yeah, I mean, with hindsight now, I would say probably no. It's not a good idea. Burn the sin bins at the stake before they've even started.
Yeah. I get
it in rugby. I like it in rugby, because rugby is more physical. I'm not being disrespectful, but rugby, you are throwing your body against someone else's body, making tackles. The heated moment is there, isn't it? You got people, in the scrums. You got you stood on when you go down in a tackle. You're getting that nitty gritty in your face, sort of more physical of a game. So you tend to get overheated. And I think a sin bin works in those types of games completely, because it is a moment for them to go and cool down. You know what I mean? You've been trod on, you've been pushed, you've been tackled, you've been throwing your body, you're probably hurting. Go and relax for 5 minutes, check your attitude and then come back. But football isn't that physical. It is more about the beauty of it. And it is about the skill of getting around your player. It's not about clobbering. And one of the topics I was going to one was, the clobbering, the Roy Keanes and that era is gone from our game. And I think it's a dying breed that is the physicality of football. And for me, football doesn't need a sin bin because it hasn't got that physicality to it. The players out there should respect and be smart enough in the moment to know not to say something so obscene or silly to the ref that would get them sent to it, to get them carded. And I think the card system's there for that. And I think we just need to go back to the basics in learning how to respect referees again.
But that's going to change the whole. That's going to change the whole social fabric of the game, isn't it? Because there's not really been respect there for a long, long time. So
it hasn't.
You're trying to change something which it's that super tanker, isn't it? Super tanker. That sailed a long time ago, trying to catch it up and get it turned. I don't think you'll do it. That's the problem.
No, it's like I said. If your coach is out there slagging referees, how am I meant to go on the pitch for 90 minutes and remember to keep my mouth quiet? Do you know what I mean? When my boss is on the sideline giving the same of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? If I'm standing there and, I'm playing for Spurs and Ange Postecoglou yells out, "You're kidding me, ref, you're an, effing blah, blah, blah." And then I turn around and go, "Yeah, you are, blah, 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 blah." Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, how am I, as a player, as a young kid, we've got people getting signed at 15 years old. Do you know what I mean? How am I meant to go against what my manager is saying, the person I look up to, the person that's training me and making me the footballer, the person I am, the player that's going to keep me on this pitch. You know, how am I meant to go against what he's saying and then, you know, or you know, not agree or respect the referee when he doesn't? You know what I mean? It doesn't work. So, you know, if we get it from the management, it starts at the top. If we get respect from the management, it'll flow down to the players. Trust me, it really will. If you've got a manager that will say, I will not stand for any of you boys out there slagging off this referee today, 100%. If Pep Guardiola, Eddie Howe, someone like that, have a look at some of these teams that have really good disciplinary records, I bet you your bottom dollar that it's because their manager has a good disciplinary record as well and has put it in stone that you will not slag off the referee. And that's where it starts.
You need a bit of erasure on now after the break, a little respect, I think.
Good song.
But that's where we're at, and it respects the key word that you're using, Ryan, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
But you know, it starts at the top, it works its way down, and ultimately, you know, that's what we need. You know, but I think sin bins. I think we've agreed conclusively on this show that we wouldn't be a fan. I don't think it's worth bringing them in. We need to get VAR right first before
we got other issues before then.
We've got to go there again. Just before we do the sports news, we've got to go there again. Here we go.
Well, praising my players for the performance and the way we played, and we didn't deserve to lose the match playing in the round, and then we didn't lose the match because of the clear and obvious decisions. It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is, a disgrace.
It doesn't mix his words up, does he? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm meant to treat the referee with respect after that. You know what I mean? I'm an 18-year-old kid playing for McKell after he's just called it a disgrace.
But do you know what the bizarre thing about this is? I mean, human nature is, if you have a go, somebody has a go at your mates, you'll stick up for them. So what's he going to get over the next handful of games off referees?
No,
exactly.
I'm not saying the refs are going to go out and target him.
I think it should
But they're certainly not going to look at him with respect, are they?
No. It should have been dealt with. He should have been smashed with fines or whatever it is. They should have made a statement out of him that a manager cannot come out and do that. You need to show respect to our referees. As soon as you allow that happen, and then the club comes out and backs him up, the respect for referees goes out the window. Every fan of Arsenal now hates the referees because their club and manager just said that and got away with it. If you had stamped it right there and then, you know what I mean, we would have said no. Referees, where's the protection for referees? I mean, it's silly.
Yep, indeed.
Sorry, rant over.
Hey, two quiz questions currently happening. When Borough won the League Cup in Cardiff at the Millennium, who was the former Borough player sitting on the Bolton bench? That's the one that's
a tough one. It's a tough one.
Driving Rye mad, I'm telling you. It is. And the other one is, and we'll give you the answer shortly, Boz is back. What is Boz saying? What's the word we've taken from his lips?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable good bourgeois types.
Yeah, what is it? What's the word that's missing? Referees. Interesting one, but no. But I'm glad you got us back at the football. It is a Thursday. That means tomorrow the boys are back in town. Clark.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Williams.
A first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester. It was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Across the Northeast, it's the three legends.
Fridays at 6 on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. Well, young William, Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire. Wasn't us.
We didn't. Oh, so good.
It's Sammy.
A banger from Radio Dad, like.
Well, there you go.
Not wrong.
I've got more bangers to come. I've got more bangers to come. What's the latest on the Aussie? What's the latest on the Socceroos, mate?
So he's on the bench. He's been moved to the bench apparently. He's not. It's Sammy Silvera. He's on the bench tonight. He's playing Bangladesh. Socceroos or AK Australia are playing Bangladesh tonight in their Asian Cup quarter qualifier. Sammy Silvera on the bench, the only Borough representative after Tommy Glover and Riley McGree not flying out. So. Sammy Silvera, number 7 though for the Socceroos, he's taken. So they're expecting big things. Graham Arnold though, the coach of Australia, said Sammy Silvera will have a big part to play tonight. Trust me. So on the bench though,
big part of bench warming.
Bench
play.
Oh, I
warming,
don't know.
bench
Yeah.
warming.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, then let's put you out your misery then. So Borough played Bolton Wanderers in the cup final, 2004, Cardiff Millennium Stadium. Borough won 2-1, went into Europe for the first time in the club's history outside of the Anglo-Italian Cup. I asked the question, who was the Borough player that was sitting on the Bolton bench, former Borough player on the Bolton bench, and it drove you a bit mad, didn't it, Rye?
It did. I was thinking. Well, we answered it. All right. I was speaking to him off break because it was killing me. I actually thought
those conversations we never talk about. Yeah.
I actually thought it was a certain defender, but I was struggling because he never actually played. So I was thinking it was Anthony Barnes, who was on the bench for Bolton that day as a defender, because he came to Borough on loan in like 92, 93, somewhere around there. But the only reason I remember him is because he actually never played for the Borough. We actually said he was terrible and set him back because he came in on loan and never got a game for us. So
correct.
I thought it was him, but
not correct. Yep. Correct it wasn't him. It was the goalkeeper, Kevin Poole.
It was.
Yeah.
Evan Poole.
Yeah.
There you go, hey?
Yeah.
You know, he's the goalkeeper coach at Solihull Moors at the at the moment. Solihull. How do you pronounce it?
Solihull.
Is that it?
Solihull Motors. Yeah.
Solihull Moors.
Good lad, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, he's good lad.
Yeah, goalkeeping coach since 2020.
Yeah.
Used to be the Derby County goalkeeping coach as well, Kevin Poole.
Yeah.
One of the smallest goalkeepers I've seen.
I'm surprised we've not had any winners on this Boris thing either. Like it's a strange one.
It's gone down like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
Donald's usually in touch at least.
Yeah, Donald's normally you think it's referees. Here we go. What is the word we've ripped from Boris's lips?
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable, good bourgeois types.
You know what I love as well is that you did the referee whistle. You could have used anything to block it out, but you chose our referee.
Backbenchers.
You know,
Backbenchers, yeah. Backbenchers, yeah.
Our resident referee chose to put a whistle in there. I love it. You're always core to your roots, aren't you?
I am, mate. I am. I was trying to keep everything footy. Even though I was using buzzer, so it was non-footy, so you couldn't accuse me of favouring one team or the other. We had to get a ref's whistle.
Hoodlums.
Do you want the answer?
Hoodlums?
Do you want the answer?
Yeah, go on.
Here we go.
I mean, I have some perfectly respectable neighbours, good bourgeois types.
Neighbours.
Without using the game,
and he was
naming them.
Wake them up!
And he was actually talking about them having spliffs in the evening. Brilliant.
Oh my God.
As our resident Aussie, of course, Rai should have got that.
I should have. The old neighbours. Yeah. Just came back, lads. Got cancelled down here. Did Neighbours after 20-something years.
Yeah, we were paying for it.
Rebooted it like a month later.
We were paying for it.
Keeping it alive.
That's right. Yeah.
Keeping it alive. Just been rebooted. Has Neighbours.
So does that mean? So they all came back, didn't they, for the final show?
They did.
And does that mean they're going to come back
Kylie
again when it gets canned next time?
I don't know what happens. But it was this big finale, and literally 4 weeks later, somebody came in and rebooted it, and off we went. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was real funny. Yeah. It only went for about a month.
Bring back the Sullivans.
Neighbours, but yes.
The Sullivans is a classic.
The lie one that you guys, we get that here in Australia.
The what?
With Lee Mack. The lie, what's that called? Come on, somebody help me.
Would
I lie to you?
No, would I lie to you? Okay,
oh my goodness. Jeez, that was struggling to get that out. With Lee Mack and I love that. You guys watch Would I Lie to You?
Prisoner Cell Block H, I used to watch that. They then brought Wentworth out, which I thought was really good. But yeah, Prisoner Cell Block H used to be a go-to back in the day. The Sullivans was like a lunchtime thing you watched when you were a kid and you were off school in the summer holidays over here. There's been a few. We've had a few exports. One of the best sporting ones that ever came from Australia was Bodyline. That was excellent. That was a brilliant.
What a series! I'm talking about the cricket.
Great, wasn't it?
No, I'm talking about the cricket.
Yes, it was Douglas Jardine, and he goes, bowl the ball at him, Harold. And he used to stop the ball off the Australians. Don Bradman, wasn't it? Bradman was the batsman of that time, yeah. Great, though, great. We've had some good exports from there. But we'll get back to football. We've got about 10 minutes left on the show. I did want to talk about tickets, lads. And this is the computer bot story that Euro 24 organise. I worried that computer bots have swept up the tickets for the tournament next year, which means that millions of ballot applicants were actually black market touts. Now, I have mentioned my concerns over digital ticketing and the way that it was suddenly brought in, and in the sense that, you know, we've all got smartphones, and this really should have been a smooth transition. We should have all potentially, you know, gone, oh yeah, well, this is a great idea. We don't have to carry a season ticket around anymore. However, it's becoming a bit of a problem, because membership schemes have come into place at the clubs that have released digital ticketing, including Newcastle. We don't know the exact number at Newcastle. We can only assume from stuff that has come out via the club and via the supporters trust and via the supporters club, who have dealings with the club on a regular basis, that we have something in the region of 38,000 members at Newcastle. They all paid £37 at the start of the season. There was a membership scheme prior to that, which was cancelled. And then people had to apply for this new membership scheme. How a membership scheme can be cancelled, I don't know, but that's a separate matter. Focusing on the ticket situation, 38,000 people have bought a membership at Newcastle, let's say, at £37 each. Do the maths, that's a good earner. Nothing, no problem with that whatsoever. However, we don't know who these people support, and this is where the problem is. There are ways and means, or people who've got a lot more IT intelligence than I have, of jumping the queue with ticketing sites, and it's becoming an issue, lads. There are a lot of Newcastle United tickets, for example, are appearing on this so-called black market. So how are they getting there? Now, it's clearly not the club that's doing this. It's clearly not somebody at the club that's doing this. So the only explanation can be that people with a far better tech-savvy way of doing these things are managing to obtain tickets somehow and putting them onto these sites. And this is what happened. This is what it appears to have happened with Euro 2024, lads. And this is a worry. This is a worry, because
it is. Yeah,
I think digital ticketing is brought in to stop. You know, it stops the issue with the club having to print, you know, let's say 40,000 season tickets. That it's a minor expense in the grand scheme of things, but it's an expense. So that means they don't have to do that. They have the digital system in place at the club, and you come in, and once it's running smoothly, it's a great idea. If you've got everybody who's capable of doing that. For those people who don't have a phone or don't have the capability, you give them a season ticket. They do have that option, which is great. So fantastic, no problems there. Queues are starting to diminish at Newcastle. People are told to go in certainly earlier to get in to avoid queues, but it's working. It's working better than it was at the start of the season. However, the touting situation is a big problem. They brought this in to stop touts, and when I used to go to St James's Park, you used to see, if you went into the Gallagher end at the bottom, you'd see touts outside the ground, and we've all come across it, whether you go to music gigs, football gigs, whatever. Anyone got any tickets for sale? You know, anybody want to buy a ticket? That's the kind of banter you used to hear outside the ground. Those people have gone now. Don't hear that at all outside St James's Park. But it's been replaced by an online system of touts, and that's where we're at. And I have been at St James's Park over the last few months where there are fans from other clubs sitting next to me, not necessarily in the seat next to me, because most of us have got season tickets, but there are usually in the region of 200 tickets, I think, available in the area where I sit in the ground, and there are fans from other clubs getting in there because they're buying them off the black market. So I mean, there's a glitch, there's a problem, there's an issue, and I don't know how you stop it now, lads. I don't know how you stop it, you know, unless you create a better IT system. And I mean, Dave, you have to deal with IT with the radio stations. You know, there's ways and means of probably stopping this, but it's quite clear that some clubs don't or can't, because those are the clubs where there's tickets on the black market. And here that the Euro 2024 competition is besmirched by these issues is a major concern, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're always going to get fans that will, if they can't go to a game, want to sell a ticket. You know, they might pick. Is Newcastle an all-season ticket sort of sellout now, or
more or less? There's about again, we don't get this information from the club, but we're led to believe there's around about 40 to 42,000 season ticket holders in Newcastle. 10,000 tickets. 10,000 other tickets, not available on sale on the day. You have to put 3,000 aside for the away end.
Yep.
So that leaves you 7,000 corporates. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it works out. So and the corporate lounges and boxes are all sold for the foreseeable. So there's no tickets available. I think you have to have a certain amount of tickets available for the ballot. So I'm not sure how many that is, but ultimately it's a sellout every game.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if this is fans who make their tickets available, but it's much harder this day and age. You know, it's part of the reason why I didn't go digital with Borough. You know, we had the option at the start of the season to go digital season tickets, and I just didn't want the faff, knowing that, you know, we bought 2 tickets. My son goes with me, was going with me most of the time, but he was getting these football jobs as a physio, and it was very likely during this season, as has happened, that he would not be able to go to certain Borough games. So it's great for us. You know, I didn't want the faff of having to transfer tickets electronically on my phone and have somebody in my friends and family account to transfer them to. What a load of garbage that was. So I just didn't go for the digital season ticket, and that's because I can now hand a card to my daughter who came with me the last game, you know, and say, come with me to the match. It's much easier. But even that, you know, we're talking a match by match basis here, tickets being sold. So I don't know how that, in this day and age of tech, I don't know how that happens. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I just think. Wild. I mean, listen. I know a lot of people who've had issues with this at different football clubs. I've spoken to a few people from other podcasts, and they've said to me, Steve, some of these people are that clever with computers that they have been waiting for Newcastle to launch the digital system, and they have ways of 100%. Jumping the queue. So, for example, if there was a ticket, if there was a link to go and buy a ticket for a particular game at Newcastle, and I jumped on there and I got on in the morning, and on average you might get on, there might be 15,000 in front of you on this queue-it system that they have, then I would have to wait in that queue until I got to the front of the queue. It could take 10 minutes, it could take an hour, right? But I would have to wait. Apparently there are people who can jump the queue because they know how to do it. There is a glitch in the system, or there's a shortcut which somebody who's tech savvy knows and who can do that. And sometimes if you get kicked out of that queue, but it gives you first choice at buying those tickets. So let's say there's 1,000 tickets available for a Liverpool game, Dave, and you go online, you have to sit in that queue. You could wait an hour, and you then miss out on the ticket because those people in front of you. It's the same as when you go and buy a ticket for a gig. Well, if
individual match tickets are for sale online, I get how bots can be used to get in there and be ordering the tickets.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, bots are these little programs that crawl. You know, for example, how do people get your email address to start spamming you? It's because bots crawl over the internet looking for email addresses. You know, you can use them like that, and it's the same with tickets. It's well known that bots are used for tickets, and this is part of the reason why.
Bot.
You're a bot.
This is all pre-recorded. I'm actually in bed. I mean, it's way too late here in Australia. I pre-record my shows and go to bed. This is a bot recording.
He's crawling all over the program.
It's an AI version of Rye.
It's an AI.
We've AI'd him.
Well, on it as well, Steve. You said you got empty seats next year. Eventually, that'll be filled by your best friend Rye one day. All right, it'll be next year because you promised me a hug.
You're going to Newcastle
again. Right. I will. Of course, I will. Yeah, I'll go to all of them. I'll go to every game. You won't be able to get me out of any football stadium. I'll just be soaking up as much football as I can with my best mate Riley McGree and Steve Wraith. It's going to be incredible.
I've been binned already.
One thing I wanted to know, so if I come over as an Australian, right, just quickly, and I know we're running out of time, Steve, if I come over as an Australian, say I'm a Newcastle United fan, I've never been to England before, and I would go, right, my dream's been to go and see St. James Park, see Newcastle play. Can I jump on there and just get a ticket? Like, can I buy as many tickets as I want? Am I limited to...
No.
Do you know what I mean? No? Okay.
No, you can't.
All right.
No, you can't because there's no tickets left. So basically, if say Crystal Palace come to town on a Wednesday night and don't take all their allocation, which is highly likely, they sell 1,000 tickets. There's 2,000 tickets then become available, and they restrict. They close off part of the away end and give that to the home supporters. So there are tickets that become available. But you go into a ballot scheme at Newcastle now, so you have to go into a ballot. So you apply for you have to be a member to go into the ballot, and then it's the luck of the draw. So I've seen lots of people say, "Yay, we've had five home games and I've had 4 tickets." But I've seen other people who said, "We've had 5 home games, I haven't had a ticket.
Yeah.
Why am I spending £37?" You're never going to please everybody, and let's face it. I mean, if there's 38,000 people and you are going for, let's say, on average 1,500 to 2,000 tickets that might become available, you haven't got much of it. The law of averages against someone getting 4 out of 5's got to be fairly. I'd love to know. They might as well put the lottery on as well if they're going to get 4 out of 5 tickets. I find it strange. There's lots of unanswered questions, and the club aren't being.
There must be a computer that creates multiple persons.
If we're going to focus on Newcastle, if we're going to focus on Newcastle, really, there needs to be a few answers coming out. I know they're going to have a ticketing workshop. I applied like all season ticket holders. We all got invited to it. You apply to go in it, and I haven't been successful. But 2 of the people on NUFC Matters, my podcast, have been successful. One who lives in Bahrain and one who lives in Stanley. So that one of them's going to be there face to face, one of them's going to be there online. So I'll have more answers to these questions, I think, after this meeting takes place. But yeah, it's not just Newcastle. Don't get us wrong. It's not Newcastle. It's not just Newcastle. This is a problem generally. That's why I brought it up with the England, the Euro 24 situation. There is a problem. Touting, they were hoping that this was going to end touting of tickets. It's actually caused a bigger problem because it's online now. And instead of having touts that you'd probably be able to find outside the ground and pick out, you're a tout, etc. Now you've got exactly. Good luck trying to find out who these people are hiding behind the dark web.
30 firewalls and stuff like that.
He's here.
The answer.
Good morning.
I heard him.
Morning, Daz.
I did hear him in the background walking in. Good morning, Daz. How are you, mate?
I'm very well.
Daz,
how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. What's happened, you've just caught the end of it here, Daz, but what's happened is you and I are starting a ticketing business. We're going to run Newcastle tickets through the Daz and Rye ticketing service now, and we're going to handle it. We're going to take a 25% fee to all tickets, and we're going to sell them to only people we like, Daz. We're going to be multi-millionaires.
I'm on it.
What was the role we gave him at the start of the show? Can you remember?
Entertainment.
Head of communications.
Head of communications.
Communications and entertainment.
PR.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm handling the pyrotechnics.
We're running the government's new football czar sort of office, so we are going to be it. Yeah,
I don't think it'll be long before they're knocking on our door because we know what's going on here. We can sort it out.
Don't we?
We can put it right.
Mate,
Several fingers on pulses.
The most influential, well-known, smartest, intelligent radio broadcasting Northeast breakfast show there is. Honestly,
who
don't get much more intelligence.
Dinner live on air.
I did. I had sweet potato.
The well smartest.
I was hungry.
The well smartest. The well smartest. We love it. That's it, fellas. We're done. We're just done. There's only Friday to happen. And then we're halfway through the international break.
No football. But Sammy Severo, Borough fans, is about to jump on for the Socceroos. I'll keep you updated.
Good man.
Great stuff.
See
you tomorrow, lads.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Have a great day. Goodbye.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The Northeast Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the Northeast, the red, the tune and the cow.